Check, my lovers. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm just riding through Carkeek Park on my Poseidon. I've upgraded it with a few upgrades. Got the H handlebars. It's now through axle, tubeless tire setup. And I was wondering, does it matter what your bike is made out of? There are different materials that you can use to build your bike frame up. Most common ones are steel, aluminum, carbon fiber, and titanium. The Poseidon is an aluminum bike. The frame is aluminum. Does it matter? Especially for this channel where we're talking about bikes that are non-competitive, for non-competitive riding. And so I would say the material does not matter. There are so many factors in a bike that can produce one effect or the other that you're looking for, that it's not going to be one thing that does it. If you want comfort, I would argue you can make a comfortable bike out of any material. If you want speed, you can make almost anything fast. It tends to be the people who are competitive riders choose carbon fiber bikes. I have a carbon fiber bike. In retrospect, do I need a carbon fiber bike? Not for the type of riding that I do. Is it comfortable? Yes. Is it compliant? Yes. So was it worth it? Yes, for the price I got it for, but I got a deal. And if the deal was on an aluminum bike, I would have probably gotten the aluminum bike moving forward into the future. But at the time, I had never had a carbon fiber bike. So it was more out of curiosity than me thinking anything that it would be better or worse. I'm riding on the Poseidon now down Carkeek gravel descent. Super comfortable bike. There are factors on this Poseidon that have made it comfortable. It is an aluminum frame, but the stigma about aluminum is that you feel a lot of chatter. But that is not the case on this bike. And I feel like that is for several reasons. One of the reasons also is that I'm in a nice riding position. Another reason is the stem is raised up really high. So I just don't feel the vibrations like that. Another thing is I'm riding on tubeless tires with 38 millimeters. And so those factors together, I've got a carbon seat post. I've got a saddle that I like. And so even though it is an aluminum bike, I don't find myself having to avoid anything like I used to because of the chatter of the road or anything. As you can see, I'm riding on dirt. It's very chattery here, and it's also very comfortable to ride. Before this, before this Poseidon, I had a Cannondale from the 90s. Lovely bike, awesome bike, super fast, touring bike, upright position. It was a lot more chattery, a lot more scary on the downhills than this bike is. And so over time, I would say, the improvements that have been made to the aluminum frame or the components that are able to go on these bikes now have made it so that if you're a not competitive rider, it really doesn't matter what kind of material your frame is made out of. It could be anything. I would argue it's more important that the components that you want on the bike can fit on your bike. For example, if you wanted 45 millimeter tires that are 700C, if your bike can't accommodate that, then what difference does it make if it's what material? You see what I'm saying? So your components matter just as much in terms of how the bike is going to come out overall than just what material the frame is made of. If I could pick, for example, I have a carbon fiber frame. I also have on it carbon fiber wheels. But if I could only have one component that was carbon fiber, would it be the frame or the wheels? I would argue that I would have carbon wheels over a carbon frame. Personally, I'd ride a steel bike with carbon wheels. And to me, that would be super compliant because the carbon wheels are the wide gravelly carbon wheels are pretty comfortable. And then if you match that with a steel frame, I'm sure it'd be pretty darn comfortable. So that'd be a sweet combination. So when people are like, yeah, I wouldn't put carbon wheels on a steel bike, I mean, why not? It doesn't really matter. Like, the fact that it's steel doesn't make it worse or better than anything else, especially if it's something that you're used to. So I would argue in a lot of cases, going for the type of material that makes you feel the most relaxed. And I'm not even talking about riding. I'm talking about in terms of like the expense of it. I feel like when I ride on my carbon fiber frame, it's very expensive. It just feels expensive. I don't want to lock it up. I don't want anything to scrape it. I don't want anything to touch it. And so I don't necessarily like having that feeling on a bike. Whereas my Poseidon, I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's an aluminum bike. Something happens, who cares? Even though I know that you can fix carbon fiber frames, I still would rather not go through all of that. And so I would argue if you're a non-competitive rider, just get the best deal on a frame that you can. And really pay attention to the components as you build it. Pay attention to the drivetrain. Build around other things other than just the frame. Build around a drivetrain. Say, hey, I want to run this kind of drivetrain. What bike would be the best for that? Or, hey, I want to run these size tires, these size wheels. What kind of frame could accommodate that? I think those are just as important factors as anything else when you're trying to build up your bike. So in some ways, the material that the frame is overrated when it comes to the grand scheme of it. Because like I said, it doesn't really matter. If you're watching this, can you tell me about your bike? Can you get in the comments section and tell me what your bike is made of, your build? Even if you want to email the email on my YouTube and send me a picture of your bike, I would definitely talk about it on the channel and talk about your setup. Yeah, anybody who wants to tell me about why they chose the material that they chose, that'd be pretty cool. So hopefully I hear from some of y'all nerds.